What's up, ladies and gentlemen? We're back on this September 26th. I'm Michael, following with Tyrone, Hollister, and Menelik. Yeah, I mean, it's a crazy night of fights tonight. The card, a lot of people don't feel is like a big stack card, but the main fight is Israel Adesanya versus Paulo Costa for the middleweight title, and the co-main event is Jan Blachowicz versus Dominic Reyes, the guy who everybody felt that took John Jones, like gave him his toughest fight, and etc. etc. But before we get into that card, we have to address the card that happened last week when we spoke about it with the T Wood, the Cerrone, and everything like that. But I don't really talk about those guys. I would talk about primarily um, Tyron Woodley, Tyron Woodley, and I'm just gonna give my little quick stance on it. I'm gonna let you guys, go off. But I was highly disappointed. I know Tyrone and Hollister, they had picked Covington to win, not because they like Covington as far as like, what he stands for and who he is as an individual, but at the fact that they seen him fight and they see his skill set. I pretty much thought that, Tyrone Woodley, he can match him, not with probably pace and volume, but at least match him with heart and match him with like that kind of grip, because he did used to wash him in training. And when Tyrone Woodley was on his P's and Q's, he was doing his thing. But apparently Tyrone Woodley got washed, TKO'd, had a rib injury, broken rib near the end of the fight, and that was the end of it. And a lot of people suggest he retired. And to be honest with you, this is the first time in a long time where I'm saying that I agree with some of my friends. Like my friends and them used to be like, "Yo, he trash" and all that stuff like that. And I was like, "Nah, man, he good." I used to give him his props. Like when I used to go watch the fights with my other friends and them. But that weekend was like the first time I actually would have to agree with them, but I just want to get you guys' take on it. So we can start with since Malik wasn't here last week, we start with Malik.
All right. So yeah, I mean, when you look at Woodley and Covington, I was going into the fight. There was a lot of trash talk, a lot of emotions being and things being said. And Tyron, with the history with him and Covington and what he stands for, as opposed to what Woodley stood for, I really thought he was going to come out there and really bring it. And it'll be like extra motivation. Because, I mean, I did check out the last episode, so I know you guys were talking about before. He had the music stuff he was doing. He had a lot of other distractions. And in his last few fights, Woodley, he wasn't looking as great. But I thought this would kind of get him motivated. And no matter what, like even if he lost, because as we all said, and I remember me and Mike talked about this in a previous episode, but Covington is a good fighter. No one's taking that away from him. He's a good fighter. So I knew it wouldn't be like no cakewalk or easy, but whether Woodley won or lost, I thought he would really, bring a certain type of energy, fight, really go out on his shield in a sense if he lost. Um, but I mean, I don't know what happened. He looked flat. He didn't look like
Yeah,
he wanted to be in there. He didn't look like he wanted to be in there. After all the hype, the back and forth, and I know some of that's promotion, but because of their history and what the politicization that went on, I thought Woodley would have really brought it a little bit more, but he didn't. He really looks like yeah, he was good, and he had a one or two bad fights. Usman is shown that he's the real deal, so it's like, all right. Then he also lost to Burns. Now with this Covington fight, it really does look like he might be, on his way out, because he probably really doesn't have that kind of emotion or that kind of zest for fighting. And I feel like it showed. Granted, obviously, a rib kind of injury like that isn't super normal. And I know that had some impact toward the end. But before that happened, unless there was something in training we don't know about, I don't know. But before that happened, he didn't look like he really wanted it either. So it's unfortunate. I am disappointed, and it does look like he really might be. His time might be over.
absolutely. So Tyrone and then Hollister, and I'll just add my little 2 cents at the end.
Well, I didn't really know much about either guy. No, I didn't really know much about either guy in a way. I kind of knew Woodley's name. I've heard him before. I think I've seen a fight of him. I'm not too sure. Remember, I'm not even a full year into this. So I think I've seen him before. I'm not I'm trying to remember, but I really can't off the top of my head. The kid Covington I didn't see before. I just looked up his career and stuff like that. So basically when made the picks last week, I was just looking at like the tail of the tape pretty much. I didn't really look at as far as who they fought and their resume. I just kind of looked at the tail of the tape. So I didn't even follow, to be honest with you, either guy. So I wasn't even honestly until Michael brought it up last week. I wasn't even aware of any of the Covington controversial stuff and the things with that he used to say about with Trump, and he's a Trump fan. So I didn't even know all this stuff until last week. So I was just basically making a prediction based on tail of the tape. Sometimes I go with that if I don't really know anybody, I'll just go off the numbers and stuff like that. So it's not like I had a full knowledge on. I think this guy is a better grappler, and so
No, I got
that's
you. I
pretty
got
much
you.
it.
That
That's
makes
pretty
sense.
much
I get
how
it.
I picked it. So when I heard Michael make his pick and then he was explaining everything, I was like, oh, wow, man, I kind of hope this guy lose because not to get into all this stuff again. I'm not really supportive of who he supports. So to cut that short. So
I feel you.
I was just kind of like, oh damn, I didn't even know he was like that. And then I watched the fight and he pretty much manhandled Woodley because he really, like Menelik said, he really didn't seem like he even cared about anything and had no interest in fighting. And then at the end, Covington is going off in the press conference, and then before that he gets a phone call and blah blah blah. So I didn't even know all that was going on with him until Michael said it before the fight. If I would have saw this after, I would have been like, oh wow. But yeah, I saw the fight. I saw the main event, and he pretty much handled him towards the end, and it was really bad, really really bad. And it's like Menelik said, Woodley probably just like he just checked out. That's all I could tell you about it.
Yeah, he pretty much like I was watching the fight. Woodley didn't look motivated at all. I don't know if something might have happened like right before he went out to the cage to get ready to fight, but he looked like kind of flat during the fight. I was expecting more from him, but the best person won. Coleman Covington won, but he took it to him. But Woodley guess got to decide what he's gonna do about his future. This may be his last run, so let's see what happens.
Yeah, man. I mean, I agree, man. And just to really, I'm sorry I didn't have my mic muted. If you had some background noise, my bad. But I agree with you guys. To you and Tyrone's point, I knew y'all didn't pick Kobe Covington because y'all thought he was like, yo, he's my favorite fighter. I get all that.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all picked the base off the what y'all seen and what y'all heard about his skill set. Now, not taking any credit away from him, as much as it pains me to say, the cat is talented. The cat can fight. You know what I mean? Like he has a lot of volume. He can mix it up. You know what I mean? He's a pressure fighter. He had a crazy gas tank. And Tyron Woodley, to me, it got to the point, and GSP said this, and even like John Jones and a lot of other, top fighters had mentioned this before. Like once you get that belt and you have like the belt, like it's like pretty much when you play a game, right? Like I play Call of Duty. Like I might go online and still play Call of Duty, online against some competition. But the excitement or the rush of playing it is not there at that much anymore because I already beat the game. So pretty much like what I'm saying is that when you're a champion and you get to that point of being a champion, a lot of the guys feel like, I tried so hard to get to this point, they lose that hunger. Now, some guys find other ways of motivation. It was like, I got to keep the belt or I want to get more money. What happened with Tyron Woodley to me, per se, is that when he was on, he was on. He got to the point he was getting shortchanged a lot. He was like another Rashad Evans. Yeah, you guys might not know Rashad. Melik might know him, but Rashad Evans used to be back in the earlier generations.
Definitely.
With Rashad Evans, a very outspoken guy, talk about racism not being promoted as much in the promotion, like other fighters, and Tyron Woodley kind of did the same thing. And then a lot of people used to get mad at him, like, oh, he complaining. A lot of times we got to be real when it comes to like black people being outspoken and talking about racial things and talking about race, especially when you're at the workplace or an event like that. A lot of people try to say, oh, he just making excuses because he just born a fighter, yada yada yada. And that's not necessarily the case, because back then he was knocking people out. He was wrestling them and fighting them, right? So he was in between like the tail end of like the old guard and ushering in some part of the new guard. Now, once he became champion, he had some good fights as a champion. He had 2 Wonder Boy fights that people didn't like because of the fact he was very cerebral on it and kind of like held himself from like ODing and going in. And I felt that that's probably the start of all this. And then when he fought Darren Till, the man look like a man on a mission. Darren Till, this white cat from England that they promote, and Darren Till is nasty too. They're like, oh, he's going to be the next big thing, and they just threw him to get a title shot. And he knew that if I lose to Darren Till, I might not ever see this belt again. And he went out there and he washed Darren Till in 2 rounds and broke his thumb. Right. Then he wanted to fight bigger fights. They didn't want to give it to him. So I felt that he was too engaged and too involved with the movies and being a businessman, which is fine because you can't fight forever. But it shows that after he lost to Usman, he just thought Usman would be easy because he figured, I'm a good wrestler. He can't out wrestle me. He never knocked nobody out. He can't do that. But when Usman put that pressure on him, he said I wasn't there. He was so hesitant. He wasn't letting go. And the same thing happened when he fought Gilbert Burns. I gave him a pass on the Burns that we talked about last week for the simple fact that, he was training at a training camp for like since March to fight Leon Edwards. Then they changed his opponent mad times, and he ended up not fighting until almost summertime. So I kind of understood why he might have peaked too early. You get what I'm saying? But for him not to wake up against a guy in Colby Covington who pretty much built his career off your name when you were a champion, calling you Ty Quill, Woodley, and all this other stuff like that, when he made his heel turn to be like this total jack A, you know what I'm saying? You didn't wake up for that. Like the main problem that I heard, and I didn't even want to watch the fight, was that he wasn't letting go. He wasn't even throwing his hands. He was just standing there. Wasn't even trying to. He could have do something like a wild flurry, like a haymaker, and probably knocked out Colby Covington because he has knockout power. But he was so hesitant to do it that he didn't do anything. And it's like you lost 3 in a row. And I'm talking about not in a way like he lost it in close fights. You got dominated in all 3 of your fights that you just recently have. And you talk about you don't want to hang it up and you laughing and trying to make like an ease of it. Nah, I'm not really feeling that. So to me personally, I feel bad for Woodley. Look, man, I like him as a fighter. Like I said before, you're a black guy. I do appreciate what he has done in the sport. But it gets to a point where you got to really look at yourself in the mirror. And if you don't want to fight no more, now is the time to get out, because you don't want to be like a name where everybody say, he fought Woodley and beat Woodley, like one of those names that catapult somebody, where your name don't hold any value anymore. It's just a name.
Yeah, you pretty much just a gatekeeper.
Exactly.
Somebody they throw at the young up and coming guy to give him a name on his resume.
Exactly. So if that's what he want to do and he's happy with doing that, then so be it. But I can understand not want to go out like that and maybe want to get one back, but to let him wash you like that is a big thing. Now, before I get into like the press conference and we give our opinions on the press conference after, I want to give a shout out to Breonna Taylor's family. I know like a lot of people, but not to say they know us or whatever, but what happened the other day with that attorney general and his decision he made, it was very like disheartening. You know what I mean? It shows a level of disrespect that black women face in this country, as even black men too. But for them to disrespect her like that and charge a guy because his bullets went into the white neighbor's apartment really shows where black women stands in this country as the lowest of low, and black people as a whole. So I want to just really give my heartfelt condolences to their family and all the people that are suffering through that. Give a shout out to the protesters who still trying to hold strong and protest these things. Justice has to be served, and God willing, justice will be served. I'm a man of God who believes that God is good, and he has protected my family and protected us through all these different circumstances, and he is a God of justice. And I feel that come hook or crook, some form of justice will come out eventually for all those people who have been traumatized and murdered and killed by law enforcement and people in this country unjustly. So I just wanted to say that real quick. And then I just want to talk about Colby Covington's rant. So obviously he won, and he didn't really talk a lot of trash, and he's big into trash talking, but I really honestly felt he was scared of Tyron Woodley. But can you remember what he used to be like training against the beast Tyron Woodley, the one before he got the belt, or even the one who got the belt? And when he got in there, his confidence rose. But his main beef is with Usman, obviously, because they had a big blow up after the fight. He's screaming at him like he was so angry, like, I'm gonna get my belt, you were lost, all that kind of crap, and he hyped with the Donald Trump thing. That's just a gimmick. Donald Trump can care less about him. Donald Trump is using him like how he's using Donald Trump, just for publicity. When he asked Donald Trump one time for a fight that he's gonna come, Donald Trump said, "Yeah, I'll come," and he didn't show up. Right? Nobody showed up from the Trump family, and especially when he got his butt washed by Usman. So I say all that to say, he took it upon himself to say some things. And I didn't listen to his press conference because you know how I get sometimes when the people that I want to win lose. I don't like to be watched the crap. But he was talking about these fake woke athletes like LeBron James and all that stuff like that, and really getting at like other athletes who are really trying to present this cause. So I don't want to give him the pass of saying, "Oh, he's just doing like a heel turn." A lot of people say, "Oh, that's not really who he is. He's just doing this because he knows that it's going to be like something to talk about." But it comes to a point where you can't keep doing like these racially, you know, how can I put it? These racially like, I can't even find the right word, but going out on a limb using race as your like, your calling card and try to skate around the issue to be like your propellant to get you to that next level. And to be honest with you, Dana White and them have to be very careful. I know they don't censor anybody, let people say what they want to say, but they interviewed him as either also and said like, "Yo, man, if somebody says something racist, would you stop him?" He's like, "Oh, come on, of course I would, but I don't know." But I just want to get you guys' opinions on that. Hollister, you can go ahead, like what you felt about what he said about LeBron James and all that other stuff like that.
I, when I saw the whole interview, I just like thought like, all right, this guy just wanted to fight. So he's feeling himself. He's out there being cocky, arrogant. But during that whole interview, I was like, this guy's an idiot. You bringing up LeBron about this and that. Like LeBron, we all know what LeBron does on the court and off the court. He's out there doing all kinds of things for everybody. You bringing up LeBron. LeBron never mentioned you not once ever in his life. Then he goes on the phone with Trump and then talking about all of this, that, and the third. And he's Trump hyping him up, talking about, oh, he was trying to hurry up to end his rally so he could go watch the fight. I think he was just being like big headed by the whole thing. Like all of that, it was all uncalled for. Like he could have just like said what he had to say and keep it short. But hopefully Usman deal with him when they fight.
Again, yeah. Tyrone, Tyrone.
Yeah, the press conference thing. I didn't really see it. I kind of read it on online and stuff like that with the LeBron situation. I saw some of the phone call crap with Trump. Anything with him, anything with Donald Trump, I could care less. I don't even want to comment really. So I'm just leave that alone. If you notice, a lot of people that support that president, uh, those guys have the same arrogant and silly attitude that he does, so they kind of match. So anytime you see a guy that supports him, they'll say idiotic things and arrogant things, sort of like what this kid Covington does. Um, the stuff with LeBron James. Listen, we all know how I feel about LeBron in the NBA, but at the end of the day, the man does his thing when it comes to like supporting in racial injustice and helping out inner city youth and everything like that. We know how he get down with that. So for him to say he's a woke athlete and like, come on, you won your fight. Talk track. If you want to make fun of Tyron Whitley and how you beat him up, that's fine. Why are you bringing all these other athletes in it? It's not necessary. LeBron James, like my brother just said, LeBron James, he never mentioned him. Don't worry, he will never mention him because he probably never even heard of Kobe Covington anyway. So I don't think anybody has to worry about him responding. As you can see, it's been a week now and he didn't even respond. So that just tells you how important Kobe Covington was to LeBron James. So I guess he wanted to make it feel him like he was saying, he was feeling himself, and that's pretty much it. Like, what do you want? What do you want from a guy like that? Listen, everybody that I'm not I didn't lose sleep on how he was acting, but I know my cousin Mike and Menelik, y'all big UFC fans. So I know you guys know, y'all probably know a couple of guys that probably more elite than him that probably will get him one day, and then you guys will see, let's see him talk after a loss, and somebody will shut him up one day, maybe. That's pretty much all I have to say. I don't really want to discuss any Trump supporters,
No, I
to be
got you.
honest with you.
I'm gonna say something else at the end, but go ahead, Malik.
Yeah. So as far as him bringing LeBron into the conversation, it's one of those things. It's like you were saying before, similar to what Trump does. He knows he has a base, and he want to elevate himself, elevate his status, and he's gonna. Because yeah, what LeBron do of all the people, it's not just LeBron. Yes, LeBron is one of the four people at the forefront of it, but doing something like that is to try to stir up controversy, divide more people, and appeal to that base that is elevating his status. Now, you mentioned before the basis and if it's kind of more so a heel turn or not a heel turn. I think it's somewhat both. I think that, yeah, he's doing it on the level that he's doing it, and as outrageous as he's doing it, to try and elevate his status, get more money, become a bigger name, a bigger star. And to what Hollister was saying, I definitely feel like it's also a result of him feeling himself. I think he was on a high. You know, you got the president of the United States calling you after a fight. You just beat somebody that, like Michael was saying, he probably was getting washed before and had that in his head, and then he took him down. All these things is playing. I think if he go back, he probably, if he thought about what he was saying, I don't think he would have went as far as he went. I definitely think that, you know, he does believe some of the stuff he's saying, or he leans a certain way, but I definitely think he wouldn't. He's going further for that entertainment value and factor, and I think he was just, you know, hyped up and he definitely went too far. And I understand the UFC doesn't, or their position is that they don't want to censor people and, you know, muzzle them. I think the term they used is something like that. But they got to be careful, like you were saying, because it could get them in trouble or be some backlash if it gets to be too much. Because, you know, they're also working with other people, and people that you work with, they're going to be people of certain backgrounds and et cetera, et cetera. We've seen
Absolutely.
what happens, so I think it's definitely something to think about. So I mean, yeah. So I think he was really doing it to try and elevate himself, but I do believe that he does believe some of that stuff. But he really is trying to, you know, similar to what Trump does, because, you know, even recently there was, like, I forgot the exact thing, but it was I think somebody was writing a book or something about Trump, and it came out where they were interviewing Trump, and Trump admitted that he lied about certain things, or he didn't believe some of the stuff that he be saying.
Yeah,
I think it's a
I heard about that.
similar-ish thing. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. But that's kind of how I feel about it.
I hear you, man. This is touch real quick. I mean, when I first saw Kobe Covington, like, and that's what Tom Willie was saying. But see, the problem with Tom Willie, he was talking a lot of stuff and not backing it up. But that's besides the point. When he was saying that, when Kobe Covington used to be like on prelims, like, you know what I mean, or like the Fight Pass on Facebook. You know what I mean, like the joint you could download and watch on streaming. And what happened was, he was a good, decent fighter, but he didn't have no name. So he was coming. I remember when he first came out, he's like, "This is Kobe Chaos Covington," trying to like really cut these promos like he's like back in the WWF, and it was like WWE, whatever, and it was looking pretty bad and cringeworthy actually when I first saw him. Then all of a sudden now he started coming out with the hat, make America great again. People started writing like stuff for him to say, and he'll come out in like press conferences and like regurgitate lines. So like when people was pressing him, like, yo, like especially with him and Usman before they fought, when he was like saying to him, like, yo, man, you don't, when I met you backstage, you was quiet, you don't got really nothing to say. And then even like Verdum like threw a boomerang at him and like got big on it, because he was talking about ish whole country like Brazil and all this stuff like that. So it's a certain level. Like Chael Sonnen's another guy who was kind of like on that kind of tip when he first there. But the difference between Chael Sonnen and him, Chael Sonnen knew how to like egg the people on, but kept it within a certain realm where it wasn't too much of too offensive. You know what I'm saying? It was still kind of there, but not at that cost. Kobe Covington is straight going like full right wing, pretty much neo-Nazi, almost, by doing what he's doing. So like the Trump thing is like they both using each other. Like I said, he threw the LeBron name out there because, wow, LeBron's a big name. They know they were talking about the Breonna Taylor thing. They know about it, talking about all the different things. And LeBron is a more of a household name than Kobe Covington. So, of course, to say that will be that Trump is only calling him because he won the fight. And then it makes it look like, oh, Trump is a guy who's a guy of the people watching MMA. He's blah, 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 blah. So there's a lot of foolishness that's going on. And plus, also, Dana White is boys with Donald Trump. Like a lot of rich elite people, they're going to support what Trump stands for the simple fact that they want to keep their money in their pocket. And like we said last time in the last podcast, the real war is not between white and black people. That is a war. Don't get me wrong. That's something that's still big. But the real confusion is that the people who don't got nothing, the poor people, the middle class people who are the working class people who are fighting for the scraps, we are being tricked and put against each other to fight each other while the rich people keep getting money. How is it that all these billionaires are making more money during a pandemic where people can't even go to work and they got to get unemployment and do different things like that. Like that's what we really got to start looking at instead of like fighting amongst each other. But anyway, be that as it may, Kobe Covington is a clown. So he was really a guy that kind of used this kind of platform to do it. And even like what Tom Willie said, which I highly believe, let's say Trump loses this election this year, right? What is his platform going to be on now? You're gonna that was his whole gimmick. You know what I'm saying? His whole gimmick was make America great again, Trump supporter, reading Trump's book and all that other stuff like that. That was his whole gimmick. What's going to be the next thing? You get what I'm saying? So I just hope Usman breaks his jaw again. And when it comes to fighting those guys in the top 5, he's going to have a hard run of it. It's just that it's unfortunate that Tyron Woodley got washed the way he got washed, and it is what it is. But going into tonight's card, as we said before, there's some decent fights. Like, I never like to disrespect any fighter because you're getting out there to fight. That's a big deal. But the main event and the co-main is what everybody really want to see this fight for. So we're going to touch base on the co-main event right now. Is between Dominic Reyes and Jan Blachowicz. I hope it's saying his name properly. They're fighting for the vacant title. So John Jones decided, you know what? I'm going to give up this belt. I'm going to really focus on becoming like a heavyweight so I can fight in heavyweight division because that incites me. Let them do that. And whoever can defend the belt as much as I can and as much as I did, then I'll pay an exorbitant amount of money to a charity of their choice. So John Joe's pretty much saying that, look, you guys trying to say that I'm ducking this and I'm doing this. I already have nothing else to prove in the division. I wiped it out pretty much. And let's see if you guys can hold this belt as long as I have. So we're going to see between those two guys. I mean, I don't care who wins. We haven't seen Jan fight John, obviously. And everybody said because Dominic Reyes was like, so close and razor thin between John Jones, he should be the one, the clear victor. But, sometimes styles make fights, who knows? Jan might have more footage on him. But I'm going to go with Dominic Reyes, maybe winning a decision. And you guys can go ahead and who y'all think is going to win that fight.
All right. So as far as the Jan Blachowicz and Dominic Reyes, like Michael was saying, Reyes recently went the distance with John Jones. It was a very close fight, somewhat controversial. Some people think he did enough to get the win. So for a lot of people, you're going to look at it like, okay, well, he went toe-to-toe with pretty much the MMA GOAT, so he should be able to take out Jan. But as you said, styles do make fights, and Jan, he is coming off of a few good wins. I know he knocked out Rocco. He ran it back with Corey Anderson, who had beat him previously and knocked him out in the first round. And he has looked really good lately. I think Reyes, though, does a good job of moving in the ring, and I think he'll be able to utilize that against Jan and pretty much avoid too much danger. And so I would go with Reyes.
Okay.
All right. So I'm just looking at the stats between the two guys. So based off, what I'm looking at with Jan, I see he's more of like a submission fighter. And Reyes is more like a striker, stand-up kind of guy. And the fact that he went toe-to-toe against John Jones says a lot. So with this one, between the two guys, I must say Reyes coming out as the new champ.
Okay, sounds good, Tom.
Yeah, I'm pretty much going with Reyes too. Hearing that he went to the distance with probably the greatest MMA fighter of all time, John Jones, that's enough for me. I haven't seen the other guy. I haven't seen either one, but just based on hearing with my casual knowledge, just knowing who John Jones is and the fact that he went toe-to-toe with him, I have to say this guy. If I knew a little more, I'd probably be able to analyze a little better, but obviously I don't, so I'm going to go with Reyes. I'll pick him to win in unanimous decision.
Okay. I guess we're all in agreement. Like I said, I'm not putting it past Jan to win. Like Malik said, he has some good fights. He knocked out Luke Rockhold. Luke Rockhold was getting washed anyway, so That's another thing. But he knocked out, like he beat Corey Anderson. He beat a lot of good guys. I think John would have handled him either way. But John is not opposed to fighting power punches. I do think, like, I didn't watch the John Jones fight. I mean, I think John Jones is kind of getting to this part where he's kind of, and I don't want to take nothing away from him as a skill set. Probably felt like, I don't feel like me waking up for this fight, or he probably thought it's gonna be light work. And then, Reyes, came, and that's why John decided, I got to turn it up a little bit. But I think a lot of times what excites John or make John fight a certain way is like, you know what, I want to take the challenge on beating this guy where he's good at. You know what I mean? I'm not going to come out having him expect what I'm going to do. I want him to be surprised. When he fight a wrestler, like when he fought DC the first time, DC said, "You can't take me down." He decided to take him down. He took him down 5 times. You get what I'm saying? And he did it that way, like to really kind of like demoralize the person, like take something away from them, like by beating them at their own game, so they don't have any doubts in their mind that they got their butt whooped. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't have to, if I wrestled more, I would have beat John. You know what I mean? Or if I, use my striking, I would have beat John. Like John said, you want to use your striking? When he fought Santos, he said, you can strike. We won't strike. I'm not going to even wrestle you because that's too easy for me. You know what I mean? So that's his kind of arrogant stance that he take. But I guess we'll see. I mean, I'm trying to get in a mental space where I'm not really like, oh my gosh, this guy lost, and I feel like devastated and hurt. I'm like, whoever wins. But let's get to the main course. Israel Adesanya versus Paulo Costa. Now I'm going straight Israel Adesanya for the simple fact that he is a style bender, and the fact that his striking is very elite and crisp. And I feel that he already got into Paulo Costa's head. I'm not taking nothing away from Paulo Costa. He's a beast. And when you see him, you see this guy that's chiseled with muscle. Look like he on the juice. You know what I'm saying? And you think that he's like gonna just run through people. But that's the problem. Like this is gonna be like a bull versus a matador, where it's like Israel Adesanya, because of his lankiness and being skinny, a lot of people just sleep on Anderson Silva that way too. Like, oh, Anderson Silva got no power. He's a lanky guy, and Anderson Silva was knocking dudes out with like crisp striking, perfect timing, and just it's elite, elusiveness. So I'm going with Izzy. I think it's going to be a tough fight. I do think Izzy going to pick him apart. Paula does have a chance, but I just feel that the experience difference and the fact that Israel mixes it up so well and like so accurate and quick, it's crazy. It's a fighter that, real quick, there's a fighter that Paula fought in the past named Uriah Hall. He's a black guy, Jamaican guy, actually from Queens, and I saw him one time walking in my neighborhood. And when he fought him, Uriah Hall was watching him at the beginning, catching him with like jabs and like slipping and movement, and like Paula couldn't do really much about it. He beat him with a knockout because he was warming up the ribs later on, and like to say that. And then with Uriah Hall, he's another guy, like he really like has great potential, great skill, but he never really had that switch that turned into that next level. He would just kind of like go through the motions or like be too nice, whereas like people like Izzy won't. So I think that Israel Adesanya is a way better striker than Uriah Hall and more elusive. I think Izzy should get it done. So that I'm going with that. So Menelik. All right, if Menelik's not there, I guess we can go Hollister.
Yeah, I'm definitely going with my boy, my favorite fighter, Israel, of course. Don't get me wrong, Costa. I watched his fight with what is against Romero. He's a good striker. I know he's probably going to always try to go for the knockout, like try to go for an early knockout, but I can see Israel switching up that whole thing real quick because Israel's like an all-around fighter. Like he could go for your legs. He got kickboxing experience. He got tons of experience. But my boy's going to get it done, regardless.
Well, the only person I saw highlights on was Israel, so I'm gonna pick him. I like what I saw in those highlights. So I don't know who Costa is, but I know he's undefeated. He's a good fighter, but I'm just going on what I've seen. So I'm gonna pick him, Israel.
Menelik.
All right, so yeah, this fight, Israel Adesanya, Paulo Costa. I think it should be a good fight. I just want to put that out there first. I know Adesanya's last fight against Romero, it ended up being a very weird fight that a lot of people didn't like, largely because of Romero. I mean, Adesanya is kind of a counter striker, very precise striker, and Romero came out doing I don't know what. Both him and Paulo actually both fought Romero recently, and Costa and Romero had a war. And Costa did show that he could take some shots, because he took some big shots. from Romero, so he definitely got a chin. But Adesanya took a strike or two from Romero as well, showing that he got a chin. And I think in certain ways, Costa is similar to Romero. Um, and they're both like strong guys who like to kind of push the pace and get up in your face. And I think Adesanya, as much as the fight wasn't a, like a really entertaining fight, he was able to deal with it, do what he needed to do to get the W. I don't think this will be that way because I don't think Costa will um, act the way Romero did. Um, so I do think it will be interesting. I think Adesanya, he has what it takes. He can switch it up, and I think he will do what he needs to do. Not taking that away from Costa. I mean, if he could get a good shot because he has power. Not that Adesanya doesn't either. Things could go a certain way. But they're both undefeated. So this is the first time two in a while where two undefeated guys are going at it. So I mean, I know Dana was hyping this, feeling like he feel like it's going to be fight of the year. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm definitely going with Izzy,
Okay.
and yeah,
No, I agree. I mean, everybody said it. I mean, I know Town, you haven't really seen a lot of it, but even when I saw him fight Derek Brunson, Israel Adesanya, I kind of thought, because I didn't really know about him at the time. He was up and coming. People was like, oh, he like almost like the next John Jones for this division because the way he was winning. And it's like when he fought Derek Brunson's a heavy hitter, a strong guy who used a lot of wrestling. And what happened was Derek Brunson was pressuring him, and with that freaking pinpoint accuracy, the man destroyed Derek Brunson. Like I'm talking about, dropped him with this KO power and technique that was so crazy that everybody was like, "Yo, damn, this kid is like much better and much stronger than I thought." So for me, I'm going with that. Like there's a part of me that looking at Polo like, "Yo, Polo might be able to get in there and knock him out and get it done." You know what I'm saying? But you don't know because like Polo Costa 15 or 12-0 in the UFC, but he only fought 5 people in the UFC, and a lot of people he fought wasn't in the top echelon too. That Israel Adesanya fought the top dogs of the division, which a lot of times, sometimes the UFC be unfair when it comes to certain athletes when they have to their road to the belt versus somebody else's road to the belt based on their star power. But
yeah,
I think Israel Adesanya, his skill set, like he wants that fight. To your point with the Romero, like Romero that's running there stood in the middle of the octagon because Romero knew that Israel Adesanya is a counter fighter, and I'm just gonna make him attack me, man, and he gonna slip up and I'm gonna catch him with something. And it's like Israel's like, no, I'm not gonna do
I'm
that.
not gonna do that. Yeah,
He threw like the kicks to do what he had to do, and I think in his mind, because Savannah put that back, because of the fact he felt like the way the crowd felt about him for not doing that, and people were criticizing that fight and blaming him for not really being about it and playing it safe. He decided, like, you know what? I think this fight, he's gonna come out there and like really try to go out there and show something special, and probably try to finish your boy within the first couple of rounds. And we never seen Paulo Costa go 5 rounds. All that judo, all that muscle, all that strength, and you swinging those heavy shots. 'Cause everything he throws with like a vengeance. You can gas yourself out to a certain extent. So we'll see. I mean, that should be a great fight. It's unanimous. We all going for Izzy, so that's a good thing. But um, just to segue from the UFC per se, and go into, I guess we could talk a little bit of like the playoffs since like that's getting ready to start wrapping up. Um, we have the Boston Celtics. They won yesterday, so I think they might force a game 7, but I don't know. I think Miami might come out next game and really like huckle down on certain things. But defensively, the Celtics have been looking good. So who never knows. But I'm kind of like not. I don't want to say that I don't care about the basketball anymore. I'm just waiting for the finals because right now there's nothing really exciting going on right now in these two like series to me. I really wanted the Clippers to play the Lakers. Obviously, that didn't happen because they got watched by Denver. So I'm just waiting for the playoffs. I mean, not the finals. So we'll see what happens. But you guys can like put your 2 cents in on that, and then we can get ready to wrap it up. Unless you guys got something else.
Yeah, so
all
far
right.
these playoffs is like it's kind of like it's like in a sense to me, it's kind of like it's not really it's entertaining, but it's not as entertaining as I expected it to
Yeah,
be.
the beginning was a little bit more entertaining, but now it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of dwindling down. Go ahead.
Yeah, I feel like it's like running. It rains its course already. So in a sense, I'm just like, all right, we just probably all waiting to see more than likely Miami and the Lakers in the finals. That I don't know who's going to win, but I kind of give leverage towards Miami because they like more of a complete all around team. They play together. They all hungry. They know their roles as players. Things like that. And Jimmy Butler's killing it. He got these guys focused. While on the other hand, the Lakers, they have their little moments. Sometimes LeBron do his thing, sometimes AD does his thing, but they're not really consistent. But just can't wait for it to hurry up and finish, so that way we can get ready for next season. And also the fact that the fans in the actual team arenas are a big thing that's really missing with the excitement. So I'm just waiting for next season pretty much to start.
All right. Yeah. So as far as the series that's left, Boston and Miami. I mean, I'm glad that the Celtics had some fight in them still, and they at least pushed it to another game. And the series is a lot closer than it seems in a sense because they arguably should have won the first two games. Those were very close games, and if things went the other way, they could have been up 3-1 themselves, or be tied 2-2, something along those lines. But I do feel like Miami has been the better team, and they will get it done within the next two games. Um, with the Celtics, they got a bright future still. They got some young talent that, if they could really put it together, they should be good. I think it was also, too, an adjustment, them having Hayward back. Like, yeah, the first game he came back, they won kind of handily, and it was whatever. But, like, getting him back in the mix in the rotation, and he don't look like he fully 100%. But we'll see how that goes. As far as the Lakers and Nuggets, one thing I would say, I do think the Lakers are going to get it done. I think they will learn from the Jazz and the Clippers and not make the same mistake. But I'm not going to count Denver out because, you know, I wish they would have went up 3-0 instead of 3-1. That
They
3-1
got
has
him
been
right
their
where they
magical
want him.
number. They got exactly. They hype now. They like right where we want them. They've been planning for this. Who knows, right?
Exactly.
But so I mean, until I see it done, I'm not counting them out. And is no discredit to the Lakers or disrespect to the Nuggets. I just feel like they just that kind of team that they're never out until they out. So I mean, once again, if I had to pick, if I had to bet money, I do think the Lakers will get it done. I think they will not go the way of the Clippers and kind of take it for granted that they just gonna get it done. They're gonna fight for it. But Denver is real. They legit, and they still have a chance, even down 3-1. So we'll see how that plays out. And yeah, I mean, it's very much looking like it could be the Miami and Los Angeles in the finals, which also I think should be an interesting matchup. I'm looking forward to see how that would go. And no matter who's in it, yeah, I mean, I think overall the bubble has made it competitive more so in a certain sense because I guess they have less to worry about, less to focus on, and it's more about the basketball. But I mean, we'll see how it goes and then see what they're gonna do for next season.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, so with the Celtics Miami series, like Menelik said, that could easily be 3-1. The Celtics blew more than once multiple double figure leads. Like they've had a couple of double figure leads and they've let Miami come back and take over, get hot and take over.
sounds like
You
the
know,
Clippers to me.
Tyler Hero, he's putting in work. I mean, he kind of was on ice yesterday, but he's been playing well. Goran Dragic's been playing well. Bam Adebayo is playing well. Jimmy's not even putting in big numbers. He's just coasting, getting all the teammates involved. Jay Crowder, you know, Duncan Robinson. So they They pretty much spreading the offense around. The Celtics, I don't get it with them in this series because if you look on paper, they got better talent than Miami. Like if you go player for player, they have better players than Miami does, and yet they're in this hole. They get these big leads and then they blow them, and Miami kind of makes it look a little easy coming back. It's almost like they're not even rattled by it. And you would think a team with Jason Tatum, Kemba Walker, Jalen Brown, Marcus Smart, would kind of close it out. So if they were to come back and win the series, I kind of think the Lakers would have it easier with them than they would with the Miami Heat because Miami is just Miami has dogs. Well, I know we said that about the Clippers, but Miami got some dogs on that team, and I don't think they would screw up like that the way the Celtics do. The Celtics don't really have a dog. Marcus Smart is one of those kind of hardcore, like rough, rugged, tough players, but he's not. He's probably the only dog on that team. I don't really see any other dogs on that team. So that series, I kind of think Miami still hold out. I'm hoping for a game seven. It'll be nice to see another game seven in a series just to see some more basketball. So I think Miami still pull it out. The Lakers and Nuggets. Now everybody talks about, oh well, the Lakers are going. I'm basically saying that the Lakers are going to win. But let's not forget now. Had outside of game one, the games have been pretty close. Had Anthony Davis not make that 3-point shot, we might be saying it's a 2-2 series or a 3-1 series Nuggets. You never know. Because I saw game two as the Nuggets had them. They just made a bad inbound defensive play. With Plumlee just running to LeBron and leaving Jokic to run over to AD. I never understood that. So you never know. That could have been a 1-1 series. And then they win game three. And then game four, in my opinion, game four was pretty close. And I thought that the Nuggets weren't getting any foul calls. Like Murray was getting put to the floor and nobody's calling anything. So you never know how that could have been. It could have been this series could easily be 3-1 Nuggets or 2-2 series. But I think that the 3-1 luck has ran out for Denver. I think the Lakers are going to win the series. I wouldn't be shocked if Denver wins one more and then lose on Monday, but which I hope happens because I want to see more. But I think the Lakers are going to probably close it out tonight, and I don't think they're going to make that mistake that Denver did. But when the finals start, I guess we'll talk more about, give more of an analysis on the finals. But I'm picking the Lakers tonight, and then I'm crossing my fingers and hoping Boston wins tomorrow.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, all of the I've said. I mean, I wouldn't mind the Boston do their thing. To me, I think the Boston is like they still young, so they go out there. Miami is like they got veterans on their team. You got Iguodala, you got Jimmy Butler, and Miami is doing it all by committee. I felt that the Boston Celtics, because they all kind of feeling themselves in the sense that like people like Tatum want to be the star, Jalen Brown, everybody want to do their thing. That's why they had the little blow up with Marcus Smart. He's like, yo, y'all want to talk about me shooting the three that was open, but y'all ain't playing no defense, stuff like that. And I think the presence of Gordon Hayward did help because they got another guy who has length and who can score and who also can defend. So that's good. I think with the whole Celtics thing, they kind of still feel like you guys said, like they feel like, hey, man, we pretty much could have swept these guys if we'd have won the first couple of games and did what we had to do. So I feel that they can force a game seven, but, tomorrow's game, I believe they play tomorrow is going to be very critical. As far as the Lakers situation, I agree with Tyrone. I think that 3-1 magic that Denver been doing is it was cool for the first two rounds, but now you're playing against a more seasoned team like LeBron and them. Plus, as far as money goes, the league would prefer obviously to have the Lakers in there. So I think this is going to be a closeout game for them. They could, like Tyrone said, I felt there was other games they had crazy opportunities to win, especially with the one with AD hitting that 3-point shot. There's no way you should have had that defensive lapse like that. Y'all talk about the foul calling, and it's funny. I saw an article where it was saying like LeBron was complaining, talking like the Lakers were complaining that LeBron's not getting enough foul calls, and it's like, what I mean? Like, come on. And then it's crazy how this whole thing goes. And I don't want to, do the whole conspiracy thing, like, oh, they want this person to make it and this person not to make it. But let's be honest, if it's a Denver Miami, finals, nobody's really going to watch it. So it's in the NBA's best interest for the Lakers to make it, seeing that the Clippers did not make it to the Western Conference Finals, and no big team like the Bucks made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. So it's unfortunate, but I'm pretty sure that the Lakers going to do what they have to do, barring anything crazy happening. God forbid anybody gets hurt, or like the Denver Nuggets come out blazing like how they came out the other game and destroy the Lakers from the outset. I really don't see them, beating the Lakers. So it should be interesting. That's how I said I'm waiting for the finals. Should be interesting. But I mean, if there's nothing else to talk about, I guess we can wrap this up. There are some little crazy things in the news. That's not really basketball related, where they were saying that Conor McGregor is supposed to fight Manny
Oh
Pacquiao.
Jesus Christ! I
So
saw that yesterday.
that's going to be something that's coming down the pipeline.
All I know is that you know me, I love me some Floyd Mayweather. I want to hear all these Floyd haters come with that same energy about Pacquiao, because they talked about how Floyd wanted everybody gets on Floyd because he fought an MMA fighter. I want that same energy with Manny now. If this happens, I want to hear people get don't get at Floyd, and then Manny does it. And everybody's saying, "Oh wow, this is great," and then they're gonna put him on a pedestal like they always do.
That's how it is when it comes to people of color in these sports. We already kind of know that, but I agree with you 100%. They got to give that same energy. But with the whole Conor thing, it's funny because I know Dana White has mentioned before he was trying to really get back into boxing because he was originally a boxing promoter, and he was talking about his Zuffa brand and doing that. So he said he has a big announcement coming up. So I'm assuming that's what the announcement is, and that's a good way to segue into his boxing promotion. And he has a lot of fighters on his side, MMA wise as well, who would like to dip their toe into boxing. So if you can kind of cross promote some UFC fighters and boxing matches with some of these professional boxers, that could be something that's exciting too. But I know I saw Conor training the other day. I know they was trying to get him into something big. That's big money for him, and he fight Pacquiao now. I think there was another rumor that Mayweather was supposed to do business with the UFC and fight somebody else. So we'll see. And maybe Khabib, if Khabib wins, I don't know, but we'll see. It should be interesting. You'll watch Khabib doing boxing, but yeah. I just wanted to mention that. But if you guys have anything else y'all would like to say, if not, we can wrap it.
One thing real quick, I want to congratulate Deion Sanders on becoming the head coach at Jackson State University.
Prime time. Yeah, he wanted a coaching job, so. And I want to congratulate my Chicago Bulls from hiring Billy Donovan. I like the hire when I was Team Kenny Atkinson, but then when he walked away from the OKC job, I was like, whoa, I want a shot at this guy. I was even hoping for Jason Kidd also, but when I saw that we got Billy Donovan, I was happy we're going in the right direction. We need some direction in Chicago. We haven't had nothing good since Thibodeau left, so
same owner, so you gotta
we
be
need
careful.
it.
Last
What's
Dance
that?
has shown. We got the same owner. The Last Dance has shown us anything. You gotta watch out for them. You know what I'm saying? Like they messed up the chance of the Bulls to have 7 championships because of ownership and Jerry Krause.
Listen. It's a very sensitive subject for me, man. Don't bring up the Last Dance. Very sensitive subject, man. I'm still hurt by.
On Netflix, by the way.
22 years, and it still bothers me that they broke that team up. You know how I feel about my Bulls. I don't want to talk about that.
I know, Malik, you wanted to say something real quick, so go ahead.
I don't remember now, but it's all good. Yeah, I really don't know. But,
yeah, Michael got you discombobulated talking about the Last Dance, man. That's what it was.
That is very emotional, man.
Oh, they got another award too. Shout out to the Last Dance. They got nominated. I think did they get nominated or they won the award? Something like that.
They won.
That's what the Bulls do. They usually just win. Jordan just wins. Pretty much, just another W. He's in NASCAR now.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Oh yeah,
he signed Bubba Wallace. He's, a lot of people for years. They got on Mike about, and I defended him. A lot of years people got on Mike about not, getting around, helping out other African Americans. Although he does, it's just that it's not broadcast as much. But you're starting to see things now. You just hear things, but now you're starting to see stuff. So hopefully, it encourages a lot more African American drivers and. We'll see where that goes, man. But congratulations to him and that too.
It should be good. And I think on that aspect with the Michael Jordan, I know some people like to play is he really, he's ultimate competitor. Is he competing with LeBron? I don't think it's like that. I think it's like he's at a stage in his life now where the man is a billionaire. He has influence. He has power. And I think he realized he had to, kind of escape the time, escape the issue to get to a certain level. so then now he don't have to answer to nobody. And I think that was his stance. Like you said, I used to tell people that all the time. I know he said what he said back in the day, but at the end of the day, Mike realized that look, I have to have some things. He did a lot of things quietly. You know what I mean? As far as like, helping certain people out. And now that he seems like, what, now is the time for him to really like come out in the forefront and really show that part of him, because, a lot of people don't get to know what he is outside of like, the basketball. So I believe it's a genuine thing. I pray that's a genuine thing. And I really, not as far as the businesses, but as far as like the motivation behind it. And I pray
Nah,
that,
I believe it's legit. It's he's not gonna,
no, I
especially
believe it
around
too,
this
but
time,
I understand
especially this.
the arguments that people have, you know what I mean? Or with that.
Yeah. But you could see he's doing more things now. He's doing a lot more and showing more like showing, not really doing a lot more. He's just showing it now. He's
Yeah.
just showing it now because he does a lot for the North Carolina community,
Yeah.
where he's from and stuff like that. But you see a lot of things now, especially since all these things are going on. You're hearing his voice more, which is what we need, because when you hear Michael Jordan, everybody listens. Everybody listens. So it's a good step. Let's see. Hopefully, I hope he has success with it.
For real.
Yeah, definitely. I hope he does it. And like, yeah, I know they were saying one of the guys involved was a good friend of Jordan's that he played golf with and stuff like that, and took him to races in the past, and he got into the races, and he's been going every so often with that guy as his kind of guest sometimes. And he was hesitant to do it before, but now he felt, I guess is the right time. I guess too, after whatever happened with Bubba Wallace and certain other stuff like that, bringing more attention to it and some of the changes that came about that. I felt like it felt like it was time. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree, and I think like you said, timing is everything. And Michael Jordan used to have like a motorcycle race team back in the day, so like a sport bike team. So it's like he was into racing. It's just that, like you said, like a lot of us are not really into racing. I used to watch it. I mean, I'm pretty sure y'all guys did too. Like when I was younger, and I'm into cars, so obviously. But for him to make a statement now, that alone will bring fans to the game. You see a Jumpman logo on a freaking NASCAR. You get what I'm saying? So it should be interesting, and I'm happy that Bubba Wallace actually got some full support. Because I know there's another NASCAR, like a smaller NASCAR team that's black as well. And there was a black guy way back in the past when it first started who was doing NASCAR, but you don't really hear about these people in the history because everything is about Confederate flag and white people and Earnhardt Juniors and all that other stuff like that. No disrespect to those guys, those racers. I'm not saying that they were grimy racist, but I'm just trying to say that was a sport that a lot of people didn't really look into it. But I'm glad that he took that stance and he giving that guy opportunity. Who knows, it might be another black person who want to be a racer. Now they can say, I'll be part of Team Jordan, you know what I mean, and really give another avenue for African Americans to get into a different sport and different things like that. So I'm happy about that. But like I said, if you guys have nothing else to say, I'm gonna wrap it. I want to thank you guys again for watching and listening to this podcast. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. I noticed that most of the views are coming from outside of YouTube. So if you guys can click on the link, go to the channel and subscribe, that'd be greatly appreciated. Also, leave us a comment. Let us know if you want us to talk about certain things. You know what I mean? Like if you want us to talk about different topics in regards to sports, just give us, some feedback. I really do appreciate it. And enjoy the rest of your weekend, your day. Stay safe, and God bless.